My mother-in-law skipped every single one of my son's birthdays for 18 years, but demanded he give up his $25,000 college fund so she could buy a luxury RV. Here's how we exposed her in front of the entire family and ruined her golden years. Hey everyone, if you have an entitled relative, you know exactly how exhausting it can be to navigate the constant double standards, the gaslighting, and the sheer audacity they bring into your life. But what my mother-in-law tried to pull off right before my son's high school graduation is a level of pure, unadulterated selfishness that still leaves me speechless to this day. I am sharing this story here because the fallout was absolute perfection, and I think you guys will appreciate how we finally took out the trash and protected our son. Sit back, because this is a wild ride from start to finish. For some necessary background context, I am a 40-year-old female and my husband Mark is 42. We have been happily married for just over 20 years. We have one amazing son, Leo, who recently turned 18. To give you some perspective on the absolute nightmare that is my mother-in-law, Susan, 65, you really need to understand the toxic dynamic of my husband's family. Susan has two sons, my husband Mark and his younger brother David, who is 38. David is the textbook definition of a golden child. Growing up, Mark was the scapegoat, the one who had to get a part-time job at 15 to buy his own clothes, while David was handed the keys to a brand new car on his 16th birthday. Mark was the one who paid his way through community college, while David was sent to an expensive private university, which he dropped out of after 3 semesters because it was too stressful. Despite this, in Susan's eyes, David can do absolutely no wrong. The sun rises and sets on David. And when David eventually got married and had 3 kids of his own, that blatant favoritism transferred directly onto his children. They became the golden grandchildren. My son Leo, on the other hand, might as well have been a ghost. For 18 years, Susan practically ignored his entire existence. I am not exaggerating when I say she missed every single milestone in his life. Let me paint a picture for you. When Leo turned 5, we threw a huge backyard superhero party. Susan promised him for months that she was going to buy him his very first bicycle. Leo waited on the porch all afternoon in his little Batman costume, staring at the driveway. Susan never showed up. When Mark called her, completely furious, she casually mentioned that she had decided to take David's kids to a theme park instead because they were bored, and she completely forgot about Leo's party. She didn't even apologize. When Leo turned 10, she actually did show up, which was a shock. But she showed up 2 hours late, completely empty-handed, and brought David's kids along. Before we could even sing happy birthday, she allowed David's youngest son to blow out Leo's candles and stick his hands into the cake. When I politely asked her to control her grandchildren, she called me a bridezilla mom and left in a huff, acting like she was the victim. By the time Leo turned 16, Mark and I had stopped trying. We stopped inviting her to things because the disappointment was too hard on our son. For his sweet 16, she didn't even send a text message. We later found out through Facebook that she had spent that entire weekend at an expensive casino resort paying for David and his wife's anniversary trip. Over the years, Mark and I had countless arguments about her. To his credit, Mark never took her side. He slowly distanced himself from his mother and brother, and we focused on building a happy, healthy life for Leo. Our son grew up to be a kind, intelligent, and incredibly hardworking young man. He got straight A's, joined the debate team, and volunteered at a local animal shelter. He knew his grandmother didn't care about him, but because he was so surrounded by love from my side of the family and our friends, it didn't break him. But Mark and I wanted to make sure Leo had a head start in life. Before Leo was even born, we opened a college savings account. We weren't rich by any means, but we were disciplined. Every single month, we put away $150. Whenever we got a tax refund or a work bonus, a chunk of it went into that account. Over 18 years, with careful investing, that fund grew to a little over $25,000. It wasn't going to cover a full ride to an Ivy League school, but it was enough to completely pay for his first 2 years at a great in-state university, ensuring he wouldn't start his adult life drowning in student loan debt. We kept this money a secret from everyone. We didn't want anyone in the family knowing our financial business, but unfortunately, secrets have a way of leaking out. 2 months before Leo's high school graduation, we hosted a small barbecue for Memorial Day. We invited some extended family, and, regrettably, Susan and David were there. During the party, Mark's uncle asked Leo about his college plans. Mark proudly beamed and mentioned, just in passing, that Leo was going to State University and that we had managed to save up a $25,000 college fund for him so he wouldn't have to worry about tuition for the first few years. I saw Susan's head snap around so fast, I thought she was going to get whiplash. I immediately knew Mark had made a terrible mistake. Her eyes widened, and she looked at us like we were hiding stolen gold. She didn't say anything right then, but the seed was planted. 3 days later, the nightmare began. Susan called Mark on a Tuesday afternoon and aggressively insisted that she needed to come over for a very important family meeting. Mark told her we were busy, but she threatened to just show up and sit on our porch until we let her in. Reluctantly, we agreed to let her come over that evening. She arrived wearing a smug, entitled expression that I will never forget. She sat down at our kitchen table, folded her hands, and looked at us like a CEO about to give orders to her low-level employees. I've been thinking about my retirement, she started, completely unprompted. I've spent my entire life sacrificing for this family. I raised 2 boys all by myself after your father passed away. I deserve to enjoy my golden years. Unquote. Mark and I just stared at her. Okay, Mom, Mark said slowly. What does that have to do with us? She took a deep breath and smiled. I found the perfect luxury RV. It's absolutely gorgeous. Leather seats, a full kitchen, a pop-out living room. It's everything I've ever dreamed of. I plan to spend the next 5 years traveling across the country. The problem is, it costs $80,000, and I only have $55,000 saved up. I felt a cold dread wash over me. I knew exactly where this was going. So, she continued, her voice dripping with artificial sweetness, I need you to transfer Leo's college fund to my bank account by the end of the week. $25,000 is exactly what I need to make up the difference. For a solid 10 seconds, you could hear a pin drop in that kitchen. I honestly thought I was having a stroke. Did this woman just demand our son's entire life savings to buy a recreational vehicle? Mark blinked, his face turning bright red. Excuse me? Are you asking us for a loan? Susan laughed. Literally laughed. A loan? Heavens, no. I'm on a fixed income, Mark. I can't pay back a loan. No, this is your duty as a son. You are going to gift me the money. Family helps family. You want us to give you Leo's college money? Mark's voice was rising, vibrating with absolute rage. The money we spent 18 years scraping together? For an RV? Susan rolled her eyes like we were being completely unreasonable. Oh, calm down, Mark. Leo is young. He has his whole life ahead of him. He can just take out student loans like a normal kid. Why should he get a free ride when his grandmother is sitting here, unable to fulfill her lifelong dreams? Besides, David's kids won't have a college fund, and it's completely unfair that Leo gets one. It creates an imbalance in the family. That was the breaking point. The sheer audacity to mention fairness after ignoring my son for nearly 2 decades made my blood boil. Get out, I said. My voice was low, but it was shaking with anger. Susan looked at me, shocked. Excuse me? I said get out of my house, Mark roared, standing up so fast his chair fell backward and crashed onto the floor. You have ignored my son for his entire life. You didn't even show up for his sweet 16. You have contributed absolutely nothing to his upbringing, emotionally or financially. And now you have the nerve to sit at our table and demand his future so you can go on a road trip? Get the hell out of my house and never ever come back. Susan turned pale, but the shock quickly shifted to pure, venomous rage. She stood up, grabbed her purse, and pointed a shaking finger at Mark. You are a selfish, ungrateful brat. I gave you life. You owe me. If you don't give me that money, you will never see me again, and I will make sure the entire family knows exactly how you treat your own mother. Good, Mark yelled, as she slammed the front door behind her. We thought that was the end of it. We thought she would just cut us off, which would have been a blessing. But we underestimated how truly manipulative and spiteful my mother-in-law could be. By the next morning, the smear campaign had begun. Susan took to Facebook and posted a massive, tear-jerking essay. She claimed that she was facing severe financial hardship, that she might lose her home, and that Mark and I were hoarding a massive fortune and refusing to help her in her hour of need. She didn't mention the RV. She made it sound like we were leaving an elderly widow to starve in the streets just so our spoiled brat of a son could live a life of luxury. Within hours, our phones were blowing up. Flying monkeys descended upon us from every corner of the extended family. Aunts, uncles, and cousins we hadn't spoken to in years were sending us vile text messages. David, the golden child, left a voicemail calling Mark a piece of garbage and threatening to come over and beat some respect into him. People were commenting on Susan's post, saying things like, I can't believe Mark turned out this way, and I feel so bad for you, Susan. Elder abuse is a real crime. Leo was devastated. He saw the post. He saw his own family members calling him a spoiled brat. He actually came to us, crying, and offered to give up the money just to make the harassment stop. That broke my heart, and it solidified my resolve. I looked my son in the eyes and promised him that nobody was touching a single dime of his money and that I was going to fix this. Mark and I decided we were not going to argue with these people in the Facebook comment section. We were not going to try and defend ourselves against a mob. Instead, we were going to end this permanently, on our own terms, and with undeniable proof. Leo's high school graduation was just 3 weeks away. We had already planned to host a large graduation party in our backyard and had sent out invitations to all the extended family months prior. Surprisingly, almost all of the people who were harassing us online RSVP'd yes. We knew exactly why. They wanted to come and confront us in person. They wanted a show. They wanted to publicly shame us into giving Susan the money. Susan even smugly commented on the event page, "I will be there to support my grandson, despite the pain his parents are causing me." Oh, they wanted a show? We were going to give them a blockbuster movie. For 3 weeks, I gathered evidence. And let me tell you, when you are dealing with a narcissist, the receipts are always there. I went through old hard drives, text message histories, Facebook archives, and email folders. I compiled 18 years of undeniable proof of Susan's neglect and manipulation. Finally, the day of the graduation party arrived. The backyard was decorated beautifully. We had a catered barbecue, a massive cake for Leo, and about 50 guests, including Susan, David, and all the extended family members who had been sending us hate mail. Susan arrived wearing a dark, somber dress, acting like a martyr. She was dramatically sighing, clutching a tissue, and accepting sympathetic pats on the shoulder from the aunts and uncles. She wouldn't even look at Leo. She just sat at a table in the center of the yard, holding court and whispering lies to anyone who would listen. About 2 hours into the party, Mark tapped a spoon against a glass to get everyone's attention. "Thank you all for coming," he announced, his voice steady and calm. "Before we cut the cake, we have a special presentation for Leo. If everyone could please direct their attention to the projector screen we've set up on the patio." The murmurs died down. Susan looked incredibly smug, probably assuming Mark was about to publicly apologize and hand her a massive novelty check. I hit play on my laptop. The presentation started off normally. Beautiful music played as photos of Leo growing up flashed across the screen. Leo as a baby. Leo on his first day of school. Leo playing baseball. The crowd awed and clapped, but then the music abruptly stopped. The screen went black for 2 seconds. When the screen lit up again, bold white text appeared. The grandmother who was never there. A timeline. A collective gasp rippled through the backyard. Susan's smug smile instantly vanished. The next slide was titled, "Leo's 5th birthday." On the left side of the screen was a heartbreaking photo of 5-year-old Leo, sitting alone on the porch in his Batman costume, waiting for a grandmother who never came. On the right side of the screen was a screenshot of a Facebook post Susan made on that exact same date, showing her at a theme park with David's kids, captioned, "Having the best time with my real babies." The crowd went dead silent. You could hear the wind rustling the leaves. The next slide. Leo's 10th birthday. A screenshot of a text message from Susan to Mark. "Mark, Mom, where are you? Leo is waiting to blow out his candles." Susan, "I'm not coming. You didn't make the chocolate cake I like. Give David's kids a slice for me." Slide after slide, year after year. Every missed holiday, every ignored milestone, every cruel text message she ever sent us dismissing our son's existence was projected on a 10-foot screen for the entire family to see. I even included the photos of her gambling at the casino resort on the weekend of Leo's Sweet 16, completely contradicting the lie she told the family that she was in the hospital with a severe migraine. By the time we reached the end of the timeline, the atmosphere in the backyard was suffocating. The aunts and uncles who had been defending her looked physically sick. David was staring at the ground, his face pale. But we weren't done. The final slide appeared. It simply said, "The truth about the money." I pressed a button, and an audio clip started playing through the loud patio speakers. We have security cameras inside our home, including one in the kitchen that records audio. Susan's own voice echoed across the silent backyard, crystal clear. "I need you to transfer Leo's college fund to my bank account by the end of the week. $25,000 is exactly what I need. I found the perfect luxury RV. Leo is young. He can just take out student loans like a normal kid. Why should he get a free ride when his grandmother is sitting here, unable to fulfill her lifelong dreams? The recording played her entire, selfish, unhinged rant. It proved, without a shadow of a doubt, that she wasn't facing financial ruin. She wasn't losing her house. She just wanted to steal a teenager's college savings to buy a luxury camper van. When the audio finished, the silence was deafening. I stepped up to the microphone. Leo is going to college debt-free, I said calmly, because as his parents, it is our job to protect him from financial ruin and from toxic people who only see him as a piggy bank. Susan jumped out of her chair. Her face was purple with rage and humiliation. This is completely out of context, she shrieked, her voice cracking. You manipulated that recording. You are liars. But nobody was listening to her. Mark's oldest aunt, a formidable woman named Martha, who had been Susan's biggest defender online, stood up. She looked at Susan with pure disgust. You are a monster, Susan, Aunt Martha said, her voice shaking. You lied to all of us. You dragged this boy's name through the mud for a camper? Don't ever call me again. Martha turned and walked out of the yard. Within 60 seconds, a mass exodus began. One by one, the extended family stood up, refused to look at Susan, and walked out the side gate. Some of them stopped to apologize to Mark and me. A few even handed Leo envelopes with graduation cash, apologizing for believing the lies. David, the golden child, finally realized the ship was sinking. He grabbed his wife and kids and practically ran for the car, leaving his mother standing completely alone in the middle of our lawn. David, wait, she screamed, trying to run after him. David, take me home! But David peeled out of the neighborhood, leaving her stranded. Mark looked at his mother. I think it's time for you to call an Uber, Susan. And don't ever contact us again. She stood there for a moment, looking at the empty yard, the abandoned plates of food, and the undeniable reality that her entire facade had been shattered. Without saying another word, she burst into tears, pulled out her phone, and slowly walked down the driveway to wait for a ride. It has been 3 months since the graduation party, and life has been incredibly peaceful. Leo started his freshman year at State University last week. He is living in the dorms, absolutely loving his classes, and his tuition for the next 2 years is completely paid for. He has never been happier. As for the extended family, the group chat exploded that night. Everyone turned on Susan. The aunts and uncles who harassed us sent massive, groveling apologies to Mark and Leo. Susan tried to post another tearful video on Facebook, claiming she was framed, but nobody bought it. Aunt Martha publicly commented on the video. We heard the recording, Susan. Stop embarrassing yourself. Susan deleted her entire Facebook account the next day. It has been a year now, and we just got the ultimate karma update from a cousin. Because Susan alienated the entire extended family, she lost her entire support system. The roof on her actual house started leaking, and because she had alienated everyone, no one would loan her the money to fix it. She turned to her golden child, David, for help. But David, who has always relied on Susan's financial bailouts, had no money to give her. He was practically broke himself. Unable to afford the repairs and completely isolated, Susan was forced to sell her home at a massive loss. And did she buy her luxury RV? Nope. She didn't have enough money left over. Instead, Susan was forced to move into the cramped, unfinished basement of David's townhouse. From what we hear through the grapevine, it is an absolute nightmare. David and his wife are furious that they have to support her, and Susan complains constantly about the noise from the kids. The golden child and the entitled mother are now trapped in a tiny house together, making each other absolutely miserable. Mark and I haven't spoken to either of them since the party. We sit on our porch in the evenings, sipping iced tea, knowing our son is thriving in college, and knowing that we protected our family from the ultimate manipulation. Sometimes, the trash really does take itself out.